Labit, thank you for breaking that down for us. And joining me now, Ambassador Edward Djerejian, former U.S. Ambassador to Israel and Syria and Director of the Bay Institute at Rice University. In the speech, Netanyahu says Israel looks forward to working with Trump to mitigate the damage that this resolution has caused. In your view, what damage has been done with the resolution, and what do you see the relationship between Israel and the Trump administration being looking ahead?
Well, the second part of your question is very difficult to see how that relationship is going to evolve. The president-elect has to get into office, sit in that office, get his cabinet officers in place, and then determine what his policies are going to be. Now, having said that, every American administration, Democratic and Republican, certainly since 1967, have stated as official U.S. position that Israeli settlements are illegal under international law. Ronald Reagan, George W. Bush, I'm just citing Republicans, but both Democratic and Republican administrations have done two things. One, they have all worked very hard for Arab-Israeli peace, especially Israeli-Palestinian peace. Each administration had its initiatives, but at the same time, each American administration has considered Israeli settlements to an obstacle to peace. So what we saw last week, Pamela, at the United Nations Security Council was nothing new. In fact, I can cite one...
Well, other than the U.S. deciding not to veto the resolution.
But even that is not new, because in 1980, I can just cite one of several United Nations Security Council resolutions, Resolution 471. The United States abstained against a very strongly worded anti-Israeli settlement resolution. That was in 1980. And there have been other resolutions. So there's really nothing new in the United States abstaining from a resolution on settlements. I think it's the current context.
Certainly new under the Obama administration.
Yes, exactly. And as you said, this is a war of words. It comes at a very tense time in Israeli-U.S. relations. The Obama administration and the Netanyahu administration simply have not seen eye to eye on the way forward on Israeli-Palestinian peace.
And you heard some really strong words from Netanyahu today. It wasn't really a surprise, given what happened with the UN resolution. But then you take a step back and look at the big picture and the relationship between the U.S. and Israel. The United States commits more than $3 billion a year in aid to Israel right now. President Obama just signed a new deal that commits $38 billion, yes, I believe, and over the next 10 years. So how could Netanyahu say that essentially the U.S. isn't a committed ally?
I think it's a very difficult argument to make. The United States is Israel's key ally in international support. When I was ambassador to Israel, when Prime Minister Rabin was in power, there was no question of the relationship being a fundamental throughout different American administrations and different Israeli administrations. That remains. The United States remains a strong supporter of the state of Israel, especially politically and on security grounds. You just mentioned a $38 billion arms package over a 10-year period. That's highly significant. It's unprecedented. So it's not the relationship that's in question now, although it seems to be in this war of words, as you said earlier. But it's really the difference over how to move forward on an Israeli-Palestinian peace settlement. The United States is committed and has been committed over several administrations to a two-state solution along the lines that Secretary of State Kerry outlined. That alternative to that is, as he stated, a one-state, a state that brings the Palestinians and the Israelis into one state. And the danger of that is that, given demographic realities, that the Palestinian population simply just grows in a higher rate than the Israeli population, over years, if there is only one state, it will become dominated by a Palestinian population. And what happens to the goal of Israel, which is a democratic Jewish state?
I want to quickly go to some sound from Netanyahu in the speech he gave earlier today, really doubling down on the claims that the U.S. helped craft the anti-Israel vote. Let's listen.
We have it on absolutely incontestable evidence that the United States organized, advanced, and brought this resolution to the United Nations Security Council. We'll share that information with the incoming administration. Some of it is sensitive. It's all true. You saw some of it in the protocol released in an Egyptian paper. There's plenty more. It's the tip of the iceberg.
Ambassador, do you believe that this evidence exists? You've heard Secretary Kerry and others say the U.S. didn't do anything to orchestrate this resolution. Why doesn't Israel come out and go ahead and share that information rather than waiting until the next administration?
Frankly, I don't know what's so secret about not sharing that information now. If that information is there, it should be publicized now. But what Secretary Kerry said, and all we can do is take our officials at their word, is that the United States did not introduce this resolution, it did not draft the resolution, but when the resolution was introduced into the United Nations Security Council, it did obviously discuss the resolution with the various members of the Security Council, and according to Secretary of State Kerry, demanded that there be an balanced resolution that cited Palestinian issues, not just Israeli. So we'll see.
And just very quickly, I asked my guest this last hour, I want to ask you as well.
Sure.
What do you make of Secretary Kerry coming out and making this speech with less than a month to go under Obama's administration?
Very quickly, when President Obama came into office in 2009, he initiated an Israeli-Palestinian peace initiative. He stated that Israeli settlements should be frozen. That was in 2009, Pamela. It's very interesting that over those years, they really tried to reach an agreement under U.S. auspices and were frustrated by the fact that they haven't been able to achieve that. And today, as they are moving out of office, they are reiterating their principled position on an Israeli-Palestinian settlement. It's very interesting.
All right. Ambassador, thank you very much. Happy New Year to you.
Happy